Hey everyone, this one will be a video about what it was like to add dormers to my house, which I started back almost 3 years ago. Most of this video will be pictures and video from my phone along with a voiceover, which I took when I started this project. But before I get into any of that, I'd like to go over the planning stages with you. In case you're planning a dormer of your own, some of this might be helpful for you. This is what I started with, which is just the roof line of the house as it was back in 2023, at the beginning of 2023. So I measured all the angles of the roof and put it into my model to see what I could do with it. One of my goals for this project was to get a bathroom upstairs. It was just a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, so my goal was to have 2 bathrooms. I was going to do that by getting the roof line bumped up where it was shown in blue there. My other goal was to add more windows and more headspace in the bedrooms that are up there. This is one of the first concepts I came up with, which was actually, as you'll see in some of the upcoming ones, one of the most down-to-earth ones, but there was some flaws with it. The area that was a gable dormer here is actually where I put the bathroom, and that area where the shed dormer is the bedroom. So it was supposed to be 2 dormers there, one of them with a bump out, which that would have been probably a little bit of extra work, so I'm glad I didn't end up going with that one. This one here, I started the same concept as the first one, but then I added in a double dormer on the other roof pitch there, which that would have not really been appropriate for a shingle roof. The pitch of those dormers is very, very low. Most times you want at least a 412 pitch with shingle roof. In addition to that, it would have just been kind of an oversized dormer for the size of the house. This one's similar to that last one, just a very oversized extension of the roof. I'm not sure if I would have been able to do that an entire summer just working by myself, so it wasn't very realistic, but it was a fun computer model to make. This one I was getting a little bit more practical with again. I was pretty stuck, I remember, at the time on those gable dormers, and I'm glad I didn't end up going with those. But one of the reasons why they would have been problematic is they didn't make full use of that roof line there, because there's 2 of them with a space in the middle where it's not being used. But again, with that pitch being so low on a shingle roof, I would have probably been asking for some leaks at some point. Really, I think I was going with something like a 212 pitch in order to not lose any ceiling height inside the house. This was another fun design I worked on. This structure here, it's called a clerestory, I believe, and it's just where you take a ridge beam, you put it on the peak there, and then you build a wall on top of it. And then I had a L-shaped dormer on the other side. Kind of a cool looking idea. I think it's better as an idea, not in reality. I think it would have probably turned out looking a little goofy, especially on an older house like mine. This is the concept I ended up going with. It is a total of 3 shed-style dormers, 2 of them smaller, 1 of them larger. The larger one's about 23 feet long. The 2 smaller ones are about 10 feet each. So shed-style dormers are definitely the easiest to work on, to add on to an old roof line like mine, especially with that ceiling height being such a factor. So moving forward from a concept, I actually started doing some of the demolition in the house, and I was able to get it down to the studs in several areas and measure everything, which was good because then I was able to form a plan on how I would physically build this structure. And this is what I actually used to make a drawing that I submitted to the city to get my permit for this. You can see here I added in the headers and everything for the windows, so I had the windows all pre-planned into this. This roof also, originally it just met, the rafters just met to each other on the ridge, so I actually had to add in a ridge beam on both of those ridges, and they intersect each other at 90 degrees there. This one's missing the headers still, but At this point I started pre-building the wall sections. I had 3 of these wide for the large dormer, so I pre-built them all beforehand and stacked them up in this room there, getting ready to cut open the roof and put those up into place. Total, this first larger dormer was about 23 feet wide, maybe 24 feet wide even. So I had to make it in 3 separate sections in order to get it to a manageable size where I could lift these up into place by myself. At this point I had moved on to the smaller dormers and making the sections to fit up into those, which were a little bit wider than the 3 sections from the larger dormer. And there's all my completed sections. At this point I had started cutting open the ridge in order to fit the ridge beam into place. It's a pretty intimidating feeling once you see daylight through the roof. Here I'm working with a 25-foot long LVL for the ridge beam. LVL is laminated veneer lumber, which you can get at Menards or probably a lot of places, but it is you can get it pretty easily in longer lengths, which is a huge advantage. It is also something like 4 times stronger than dimensional lumber. I got it up to the roof by using those boards that I had nailed into place as a guide. Now I actually started cutting open the roof. This was a holiday weekend, so I had 5 days, I remember, in order to get the roof cut open, all the shingles removed, my wall pieces up into place, and then the rafters connected to the wall pieces. Small mess there. At this point, I think I'd been disassembling the roof and the shingles for several hours already, and I remember thinking that initially when I started off that I would be done very quickly. It was starting to take a considerably longer time than I was expecting. I already had the ridge beam in for the one section where I just tore off, but I didn't have the ridge beam in yet for the perpendicular roof line. So with the roof open right there, I took that opportunity to get the other ridge beam up into place. You can see me there not struggling with it. There's a good shot there with the roof all the way exposed and the ridge beam showing. Before I finished up for that day, I added the wall sections as well. This is into day 2 now, putting up the rafters. This is about 6 p.m. on day 2. And this is about 9 p.m. on day 2. Into day 3 now, I started to cut off the rafter tails. It really started to take shape after that, but I remember I was feeling pretty overwhelmed trying to get the structure to be rainproof in case anything came up, so I stopped taking so many videos and just started taking pictures as I went along. This is the first shot of the inside. You can see I still have the ridge beam braced against the wall there in case any high winds were to come up or anything like that. And here I am trying to get some ice and water guard on, get the shingles ready, and get it all waterproof. Built a little ladder extension there. Sometimes you got to do something creative like that. That was the end of the long dormer. At that point, I started to focus on preparing to do the smaller dormers on the other side. One of the things I did was remove the exterior chimney instead of flashing around it like I could have done. It was just always getting bats in there and things like that, so I decided it was better to get rid of it. This is the opening now for the second dormer from the inside. Second dormer was a lot easier of a process since it was only 10 feet wide. Around this time, I really wasn't taking any video. I was just working on this roof pretty much constantly. This was the last dormer that I was doing now, and actually did not go very well. Some parts of it, a lot of rain that month, but I got it done. So I started in July and finished in October. From there, I was able to get some windows in. I remember the winter was pretty late that year and pretty mild that year, so I was able to work pretty late into the year. This is the second bedroom upstairs, the one that is currently unfinished still a little bit. I got a lot of insulation up and sheetrock up, and that's where I called it quits as far as working on that one. I shifted afterwards to the first bedroom, which you'll see next. This is what the upstairs looked like in the larger dormer, with the sheetrocked area there on the left being what will be the bathroom. The rest of it is the bedroom. This was getting into the summer in year 2 now, and I built that ladder there on the side of the dormer in order to get the siding up into place and the soffit and fascia up into place. And that's what I went with for design on the trim. It's a little hard to see here, but that foam all has space behind it, so the air can get on the back side of the roof there in order for the airflow to flow up from the soffit vents. Finally getting the siding up, which of course was easiest on the faces. The one disadvantage of shed dormers is it's very hard to get it up on the sides. This is the bedroom now with the single large dormer and the bathroom on the left side there. I proceeded to level out the floor and insulate it. I also ran new ductwork up there so that there was plenty of cold air in the summer. That's one thing about these houses that are story and a half houses, is that the upstairs usually gets very hot in the summer, so we don't have that problem anymore. I did a bit of an interesting thing here, and I actually insulated the floor as well. That helps reduce sound transmission between levels. This is after the subfloor was put up into place, drywall sanded, drywall's painted, and now trim is done around the windows on the inside, and trim's done on the door on the inside. I went with a carpeted floor on this. That's the finished bedroom. I still have the other bedroom, the bathroom, and the hallway to finish. I hope you enjoyed that video on building the dormer. It has been a long project. I thought it would go a lot quicker. It was very, very challenging at some parts as well. I did most of it by myself. Um, Follow along. I still have more to do upstairs, and if it gave you some ideas, consider following my channel as I complete the other parts of it.